Good evening. Thank you for joining my Wicked Wisdom Wednesday podcast. I'm your host, Jim McCollum. I'm the Gold Star father of United States Marine Lance Corporal Riley J. McCollum, killed in action, Kabul, Afghanistan, at Abbey Gate on 8/26/2021. I raised my kids as a single dad in western Wyoming. I'm the proud father of 2 daughters, Royce and Cheyenne, and a grandfather to 3 beautiful grandkids. I'm a cowboy carpenter poet, published author, public speaker, and Wyoming native. I enjoy Wyoming's landscapes and outdoor opportunities. From chasing elk in the fall to playing with bears in the spring or casting a fly on a river or stream, I love the Wyoming outdoors. Getting from point A to point B in Wyoming allows me ample time to follow the white line down the highway. It's here that I find the white line wisdom and highway philosophy that create Wicked Wisdom Wednesdays. I hope you enjoy this evening's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Jim. Wednesday, May 6th, Wicked Wisdom Wednesday podcast. Forgive me if I'm a little out of breath and red in the cheeks. Royce and I had just got back from Home Depot trying to buy some stuff for her house to get some things buttoned up. And took a little longer than anticipated and had to rush back, and I hadn't even charged my computer yet. And my phone's on the charger too. So hopefully everything's good. Looks like we're good there. We're charging there. And then desktop, naturally, every time you turn something on, there's something else popping up that you need to take care of or look at or address. So anyway, welcome. I was going to jump into this a little bit different, and if you watch my Coffee with the Kid this morning, I said I was going to work on a poem or just write down my thoughts on levels of grief. And hello, Mel, and things that I was going to touch on today. I could have still done that, but it wouldn't be as I don't even know how to say it, not theatrical, but I wanted to present it in a different way. So not going to do what I initially planned on doing. And I tried to write a poem, and I'll kind of get into that as I keep going, but it's still not there. I just can't. Hell, I don't think it's been quite a year yet, but I just can't I can't tap into that part of me to where things flow as freely and naturally as they did. So yeah, the topic of tonight's podcast is the levels and depths of grief. And I'll get into that in a minute, but play a little bit of catch up. The oh, woe is me and the life and times of Jim. Monday, if you watch Monday's Coffee with the Kid, I vented just a little bit on I'm just over shit. Not over everything, but dealing with what I was dealing with getting my license and all that kind of stuff and insurance companies. I was freaking over it. I won't get into all the details of more shit popping up of what happened, but I made a few more phone calls, finally got a hold of somebody that said, no, this is wrong. We've left you hanging for way too long. Got it taken care of. The fax that supposedly Wyoming wouldn't accept, boy, they were able to fax it right to Cheyenne, and hell, within 30 minutes after that was done, I was good to go. So that was positive. Good note there. Just such a helpless feeling when you're doing everything you can do, but you're waiting on somebody else to get something done. And I'm not talking we're waiting for a day or two. Been waiting since the 16th of April and been promised 1,000 times that this was going to get done. And if you don't have it Friday by the end of the day, you're going to have it Monday by noon. Well, that was a week ago and still didn't get anything. And then this last Friday, no, it's been filed. So you just have to wait the time. It's like, you're kidding me. I got to wait more time. I've been waiting since the 16th. How much time do I have to wait? Anyway, I was frustrated. I was irritated. This girl was fantastic. did a great job. Actually, she taught me something new. I didn't know how to join a call. Royce actually told me last week, is like, get on the phone with Cheyenne and have them join a call with the insurance company. I didn't know how to do that shit, and I didn't ask Royce, but this girl talked me through it and wanted to make sure that Wyoming did in fact receive the fax, and he confirmed, so it was good. And now I know how to do that, so I can join my kids on phone calls now. Speaking of phone calls, and this isn't to anybody in particular, but if you know anything about me and follow me at all, I don't answer the phone. If it isn't Royce calling or Cheyenne calling for a reason that I know about, I do not answer the phone. I've got great friends, one in Jackson that calls me repeatedly, and thank goodness he is really understanding. Ben, I appreciate you. Taylor and Stacy here. Man, I'm working on it, but it's something that I just don't do. And even before Riley died, I'm not much of a talker on the phone. One, because I'm deaf in my left ear, I can't hear. There's just so many things, and then especially since Riley died, and I've gone into that, where I ignored a phone call from Riley. It would have been the last time I got a chance to speak to him, but not knowing, I'm in the middle of work, I'm up on scaffolding. It's like, oh man, I'll catch him the next time, or I'll try to reach out to him later. And later never came. I'll never have that opportunity again. So there is definitely something in me where if his phone call wasn't important enough for me to answer, there's no phone call that's important. And I can't put you in the mindset that I have when the phone rings, and there is an anxiety to it. Just like when the dog barks, somebody's outside, the dog barks, I instantly go back to, 3:00 in the morning and learning that Riley was gone. There's also the phone rings and it's just there. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I've had several friends and people I know and acquaintances and people on social media reach out to me via messenger call. It is nothing personal to anybody. I'm not going to answer it. The chances of me answering, especially a video call, the chances of me answering the phone, one, are pretty slim to none. A video call, it ain't going to happen. I actually joked to my daughters the other day that, hey, I actually joined in on a video call. All I can say is, don't even keep trying, because it's not going to change in the foreseeable future. So appreciate you. Message me if you need to. I'll respond to messages more. I suck at that too, but the calls aren't going to get answered, and I apologize, but it hasn't changed. It's not going to change. Like I said, it was an issue even before Riley died, but since 2021, there is zero chance. And again, the depths and levels of grief are a big part of that. And forgive me, I'm going to have to look at my notepad today to kind of remind myself what I wrote down. I mentioned this morning that I was writing some stuff down this last weekend as I watched the storm clouds rolling in. And then after I did the coffee with the kid today, I took care of some things that I needed to take care of, and then sat down a little bit after lunch and jotted some things down that I'd like to discuss about this. So yeah, trying to think if there's I shared so much in the coffee with the kid, I can't remember how much I need to play catch up on. I got to give a shout out though. Royce treated me to coffee today. We have a business here, Loaded for Bear Coffee, and it's owned and operated by a friend of mine who didn't know her until I came to Rock Springs, but got to know her. And I believe I've met her husband once or twice. But great lady, Loaded for Bear Coffee. And I got the Lucky Charm iced coffee today. It's a little sweet, but it's pretty good. And thank you, Royce. I appreciate it.
and I got it in my Riley cup, so it's all good. Let's see, coffee, Royce. Took me an hour and 25 minutes to spray the mud off my trailer. If you don't know that story, I shared that on my coffee with the kid this morning. Royce had my dually and a trailer with her that she just brought back to Wyoming. And part of the road that she drives on coming back is dirt road, and it got muddy as hell. It rained on her the whole way, snowed here a little bit, but the mud was thick. And it took me an hour and 25 minutes to spray the mud off the deck of that trailer. Like, holy crap. And then I had to do the driveway as well. And that was another probably 45 minutes to get all the mud off the driveway, so I'm not tracking it in the house. I'm slowing down a little bit, catching my breath. We ended up getting Royce a bathroom vanity and sink, toilet, new faucet, and a bunch of things to go with it so she can finally get her bathroom finished and completed. So we're hoping to do that tonight or today, but had this commitment and I didn't want to bail on this one. So she's got to work all day tomorrow. So I'll just go tackle that for her myself tomorrow. But that'll be nice. Get her all squared away there. What else? Think the alternator's going out in my damn Dodge. If it isn't one thing, it's another. And that just happened today as soon as Royce rolled back into town. Like, you got to be kidding me. So I'll mess with that tomorrow morning or later tonight, but we'll see. Hopefully it's just a loose connection. When she was in Colorado, she had a couple batteries installed for me while she was down there. And we thought it was a different electrical issue because of the bumper that I had installed, but turned out it was just a die-in battery. So hopefully something just rattled a little bit loose. What else? Yeah, she's been busy as hell. Got a bunch of stuff taken care of today. I've been doing a lot of research and paperwork and diving into some things that I got coming up in the future. Did a lot of that today. Since I'm not going to go to the cabin since it was so muddy. Speaking of, we got a trace of snow last night, and where she was closer to the cabin, she's, let's see, 40 miles probably from the cabin. Hell, they got 3 or 4 inches last night. So my call to skip going into the cabin tomorrow is probably a good one because it's going to be a muddy mess for a couple days. But temperatures are going to warm right back up, so it shouldn't take too long to dry out enough where I can get in there and take care of some business, and Zeus won't be a muddy mess coming into the house. But so the depths and levels of grief. Let's see, what did I write here? I can't even read my own writing. I'm just going to read it so it's a little bit easier, and then I'll discuss it. There are so many depths and levels to my grief. I need to write bigger. Levels that no one sees and depths that I don't share. I share the parts that are safe and feel comfortable. I isolate, hide, and suppress the parts of the parts that are more vulnerable and painful. I stumbled through that, sorry. There are thoughts and demons that I, like many people, battle. And I battle them, especially in the last 6-7 months. Well, since August, about that battle is almost a daily battle. However, in the last couple months, it's noticeably not as bad. It still hits me, and when it hits me, and I don't know when it's coming and what I'm going to feel from day to day, or what memory is going to spark something. The trial had me kind of up and down a little bit, but I didn't dwell on it a lot. This is horrible to say, and I wish I would have had a better mindset as the trial was going on, I had already prepared myself that it wasn't going to be a guilty. And I need to clarify that too, because I mentioned the other day, I think it was Monday, that the jackass was found guilty on one count and not on the other. That's not entirely correct. He was found guilty on one count and a hung jury on the other. It wasn't that he was found not guilty, a hung jury on the second count, whether he was responsible for the deaths of the 13 and the 45 wounded. So I'll get more updates on that. They're going to continue to let us know. Like I said, sentencing hasn't been set yet. So there's still moving parts and pieces and stuff going there. But yeah, I as it was going, I started off really optimistic that finally there will be some accountability and this is going to be good. And as I typically do, I went to the negative and, don't get your hopes up and don't get too excited, because shit's going to turn out pretty much exactly how I figured it was going to turn out. So, and unfortunately, the families all are just used to these disappointments, and you just take a deep breath, and we cuss sometimes, and when we're together, we can cuss openly and let out those frustrations. But, what do you do? Man, that's an all day go through that. And Jeff, for seeing this, when I started this, she is one of the guests that I would love to have on and join the podcast. And I haven't forgotten that. I need to get my shit together so that I can reach out to her and get her on. Hal Royce's boyfriend actually said he'd like to jump on. He'd love to sit down and just have a discussion with me. So that was pretty cool. I didn't even know he paid attention to my podcast, honestly. So the fact that he's like, man, I would love to join your dad on a podcast. It's like, absolutely. And for him, I would like that to be in person, an in-person setting, him and I just sitting there and BSing about whatever he wants to talk about and whatever I can bring up. And I think that would be really fun. And throw Royce in the mix too. That would might be a little bit chaotic, but it would be fun. Or she can sit behind the camera and read out questions that people have for us or whatever. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to that. We'll get that done at some point. There are several of the parents that I would love to have jump on and discuss some of this stuff. And again, man, it is so crazy how things will trigger a thought or an emotion or whatever. So many birthdays popping up. Nicole G's birthday. I mean, good Lord, since February, it's like there's a birthday every other week. And it's awesome to remember them and think about them and share that it's their birthday and that sort of thing. But every time you do, there's a whole different thought process. And who knows from day to day what that thought process is going to be. A lot of positive things, a lot of good things. Very somber thoughts go through your head. You think of the other families and, the aunts, the mothers, the husbands, the brothers, the sisters, everything. You just think of all that and you can't help but feel that pain and feel bad for them and hope they're doing okay. So you just, again, the levels and depths, it is just constant. And I mention this because this isn't just isolated to us. Everybody's got loss in their life, and grief is a bitch. And ours has been very public, our loss, and to a degree, our grief. There's been a lot of negativity, believe it or not, aimed at many of the families, especially when our collective support for Trump during the 2024 election, and certain things that happened leading up to the election. There are some absolutely disgusting, miserable freaking people on the planet. So, as public as it is, in these deaths were so front and center, and it was such a tragedy. And it was such a tragic moment at the end of that 20-year shitstorm that we left in Afghanistan. Our grief has just been a little bit more public. And I'm not sure if I'm helping or hindering, because I do talk about it, and, I'm sharing this, which just keeps it more in the public. But this is therapeutic for me, and this is something I need to do. Writing used to be my only outlet for this stuff, and then started the podcast, and it was definitely a way for me to just let out the shit that I'm thinking. For me to sit on this, and I wasn't going and talking to anybody, for the longest time, for 4.5 years. I didn't reach out to, any mental health, anything. I'm just going to take care of it all on my own, and away we go. And that worked until it didn't work. So the podcast and me just opening up and letting this stuff loose was great. There's no way and even today, I can't sit on these thoughts and everything for a week or 2 weeks and not express them. I've got to have that outlet. Which is kind of crazy too, because I quit doing the podcast around end of July in August. And then there's some reasons there that I'm not going to get into today, but it isn't just Riley. There's other issues that, absolutely, Mel, other issues that have absolutely contributed my decline in mental health. But not doing the podcast just compounded the inability to function, because I was just sitting with it, and I didn't share it with anybody. I isolated myself. I closed myself off from even the people that care about me the most. I just closed those doors and closed myself off. I've mentioned this before. Blinds are closed, doors are closed, locked. I just shut the world out. And going through what I was going through and feeling that just defeated feeling, that was the worst thing I could have done. So finally reaching out and speaking to somebody and doing things that are going to benefit me, and then getting my blood work done that Royce has been hounding me since the cabin burned down. And she did a life coach thing, and she's always been really big into the health and fitness side of things. And she's been telling me, you need to get your blood work done and get yourself checked out a little bit. But finally got that done, and that has I think that's made a huge difference. I can definitely tell a difference in my focus and energy. And part of that is the mindset piece, I'm sure. But the other part, I think it goes hand in hand. The mindset's better because the physical part is catching up. So we'll keep doing this, and we'll keep going. And I'm seeing a lot of positives in all of it. Still trying to get the blood pressure thing figured out. It's consistent and it's steady, and I'm just on the cusp of well, I'm not on the cusp. I'm elevated, but I keep thinking, man, if I just exercise a little bit more, lose a few pounds and blah, 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 I might be under that threshold. So we'll see. I haven't seen any change, even with the blood pressure medication. I'm consistent, but I'm not seeing, a massive drop like I was thinking. All right, we're good. We're clear. I am more cognitive of Yeah, it's a good thing I'm on blood pressure medication. I didn't realize how when shit hits me and I get frustrated or pissed off, I'm pretty frustrated and pissed off, and didn't realize until I started paying attention to this stuff. Like, damn, I should have been watching some of this stuff. And thank goodness we're taking care of it now because I'm a prime candidate for keeling over. Um, while we're talking about the medical side of things, the TRT I think is fantastic, and I think that's what's really helping with the mental side of things. But it's also kicking me right in the ding ding. I've gained 25 pounds, and I can see it in my face. I'm looking right now, laughing at myself, going, "You chubby chipmunk." Um, they took a picture from my driver's license, and it's like, "Oh hell no!" I hope they, yeah, I can't live with that picture for 5 or 10 years or however long I get to keep this license. Um, Noticeably different from before it expires next. It would have expired next week. So I think it's 5 years. I can't remember. But anyway, I was a hell of a lot skinnier then than I am now. And I refuse to buy new pants. I'm not going another size up. I'm no way, no hell, or no way in hell. Um, so we got to get that figured out. And it's the bloat. It's the everything I can figure out. And I haven't gone back to the doctor for a follow up. I don't do that again for another month, I think. But so I get online and I'm researching stuff. It's like, what in the hell is going on? It's water retention. And supposedly after 3 or 4 months, it starts to balance itself out. And last week, I actually felt pretty good. It's like, all right, I'm not feeling the Stay Puff Marshmallow thing right now. This week is different, and my diet hasn't changed much. I'm actually eating more fruits and vegetables and things like that. I think I just answered the whole question myself. It seems counterproductive, but the more water you drink, the more it helps with the bloat. And I've been drinking a gallon plus of water every day, and I have not done that. I'm half one last few days if I'm lucky, but I haven't been as consistent with it. So I need to get back on the making sure I'm doing the water thing. But it is frustrating. I don't feel good. I feel great, but I don't feel good. Like, what the hell? Oh, button undone. Back to my levels, depths and levels. Let's see, where did I end off? Oh, the demons that sometimes feel like it's, I battle those on a daily basis. That hasn't been the case so much in the last month and a half or so. Flighting, they're in, but they're out. I don't dwell on them like I did and like I was. And unfortunately, it's been such a normalcy for me. I'm waiting for that to come back. I don't want that, but I'm anticipating that, and I'm waiting for it to hit me again, which is it's a horrible way to think and a horrible thought process to get into. But I'm so accustomed to that's just the way that it is and the way it works that I'm waiting for the rug to be pulled out from under me, and here we are again in the depths of shit. And yeah, that's the version that cripples me. It's the unpoetic, unarticulate version of me, which I can't help but think that's why I'm having such a struggle writing. It's put a block. It's like when I used to write a lot, I would just get into those emotions and feelings and just sit there, but I'd be able to write, whether it's romantic stuff, things from a woman's perspective, personal things about me. I could tap into that and write, and it didn't bother me, I don't think. But I could sit in the negative, I could sit in the positive, but I could separate it. Something happened to where I was no longer separating that. If I'd get into that negative thought process and negative feeling, that's just where I was, and I couldn't crawl out of it. I couldn't dismiss that. I couldn't push it aside or walk away from it. It was consuming me. So I don't know. I keep trying to write, and I'm not forcing it. Like, I tried to write a poem about this whole topic, and it's like, man, it's just not flowing. It just doesn't feel well. It feel good. I'm not doing well with it. So I abandoned that, and rather than force something, it'll come back when it comes back. And I wrote something last week that just, boom, it just took off, and it's like that felt good. Okay, maybe we're here again. But the other issue with that is I can't slow my mind down. I can't slow the thought process down to just let things flow. It's like ADHD, and OCD. I can't just relax and do that one thing. There's so many different thoughts, and I'm chasing the tiger by the tail and chasing this one that way and running the other direction. And that's what my mind feels like every freaking day. That's getting better too, but it's just too hard to think of one thing and focus and be in that moment and just breathe and relax and be present with that thought. There are just too many thoughts to do what I want to do. What else do I have here? Yeah, the crippling version is the depth, and the crippling version is the depth and level that make me question who I am. What am I doing? Who am I becoming? Will I ever be me again? And will I ever feel normal again? And even through counseling, we've addressed that a little bit. One of the first questions that was asked of me is, what do you want out of this? Like, I just want to feel normal again, and I want to be me again. And then we went into what that looked like for me, who I think I am or thought I should be or whatever. And became very apparent that version of me is gone. That part of me died with Riley. That part of me died with my dad. And a big part of me died in the aftermath of my dad dying and that whole drama. So I will never be me again. Now it's, who am I going to become? Who do I want to be, and who am I going to become? And I honestly can't tell you what that looks like. I know what it looks like in my head and how I would like to be in a year from now, in 5 years from now, who I would like to be, what I would like to be doing. And there are steps I'm taking to get there. But it's like everything else. It's like every one step forward that I take, there's 3 steps that I take backwards, or the grief hits, and I've got to recalculate everything that I thought I was doing and how I was going forward. It doesn't get derailed, but it changes the whole thought process. And how am I going to get there? So there are a lot of unknowns. I mentioned this to counselor the other day. It's like, I am not going to be a quick fix. There is no quick fix to this. I have so much going through my head and so many things that I have to deal with and so many traumas that I have not addressed and dealt with in a positive way or dealt with at all. That's the biggest biggest problem. I would love to take 10 steps forward and not go backwards, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Working on it. I am my own worst enemy. Just the way I overthink, the way my thought process is, and how I latch onto the negative for whatever reason. There are so many pieces to this puzzle of me that is so, I even have that written down in here. I know I'm not broken and I'm not damaged, but there are so many facets of getting through this that and I don't know if negative has become comfortable for me or just a default for me, but that's one thing we are working on is being kinder to myself, nicer to myself, and accepting myself. Things that I have not done, and I didn't realize I was ever doing any of this, which is so bizarre. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. The emotional attachment that I do have, and like I said, I don't know if that is because it's comfortable for me. It's known. It's something I know, and something I've become accustomed to. And like I said, in the last month and a half or so, it's definitely, I can see the changes and it is getting better and my thought process is changing and I'm not so hard on myself about some of the things. And like I said, I'm my own worst enemy and I beat the hell out of myself over the dumbest shit. And that is, again, that's a default. I've been doing that shit for 30 years. Not even realizing that those negative, calling myself a jackass or what are you doing, you dipshit, things like that. But that words matter and those negative things, whether I know it or not, those, as I'm saying those things to myself, I'm just belittling myself and beating the hell out of myself and certainly not doing myself any favors, for crying out loud. It's interesting. It is fascinating to see and start to understand this process. And a lot of this stuff I already knew, but I didn't recognize it in myself. I could help other people and somebody else going through the same thing, I would have so much to say and so many, point out so many positives that they have and positive things going on in their life to get them out of the funk that they're in. But I didn't have the ability to do that for myself, which is just bizarre to me. So I'm actually enjoying this process, believe it or not, which is funny because if you follow my podcast for any amount of time, you would know I wasn't going to reach out to anybody. I'm not, it just wasn't me and so on and so forth. But now that I'm in it and I'm invested in it and in wanting to make progress and see progress and make the changes that I need to get to where I want to go. I mean, it really is fascinating. The mind is crazy, or I'm crazy, or one or the other. But no, it is really interesting to see how that works and how just so simple things, I'll do something or forget, you jackass, and just go about my business. And it didn't hurt my feelings. I didn't hurt my own feelings, but it's just something I've done for forever. It's like, dummy. But yeah, those words matter, and why that is my go-to. We're trying to fix that. It's like, why do you do that? I don't know. I'm not sure why I do that stuff, but no, it's pretty cool, interesting. Like I said, I'm engaged in the process. I'm actually enjoying the process. It is nice to open up and what the hell I got going on now. Open up and share some of the things that I do. And that part is easy. I can sit on here and share all kinds of things. And I started doing the group that I'm going to, and I was a little nervous going into it. I wasn't sure how I would approach it or what I would say and things of that nature. But I just approach it the same way I approach everything, and I'm just me, and here it is, and this is for me. So if you want to judge me, and I don't care, which nobody has. But I didn't know going into it how this was going to look or what to expect. But just speak as freely there as I do here, and every now and then an F-bomb or two will drop out, and nobody's yelled at me. So a lot of this is very, very emotional and it's from the heart, and I just let it fly the way I do everywhere else. So I guess the bottom line of that, and what I'm getting at there, is yes, I would love to take 10 steps forward and not go back. I'm learning how to take those steps, and I appreciate you putting the phone number down, and to be able to make that progress and not feel like you've gone nowhere, or the wheels are just spinning in the mud, and to see the light at the end of the tunnel and keep progressing towards that light, and with more positive. That's my biggest issue. Is I can see the positive, I want the positive, and I recognize it, but I allow myself to dwell on the negative. And I do think that is definitely an emotional attachment, especially since 2021, without a doubt. I was hurting a hell of a lot more than I knew I was hurting, and suppressing the grief and pushing it aside and not dealing with it. And I think I was handling Riley pretty well, but then 10 months later, Dad died. And then the shitstorm that followed his death, something in me shut off. I don't know. I'll have to get into this through counseling too, but whatever shut off in me, I didn't shut it off. I lost the ability to feel the way that I was, to feel things the way I felt for Riley. It was real, and I felt every freaking pain of his loss. Then with Dad, and then the crap that followed afterwards, I stopped feeling. I dealt with things. I talked to a few people, especially Royce, talked about these things, but I did recognize, even back then, I'm not feeling anything. I've been numb to a lot of this shit for a long time, and I just kept pushing it aside, not even knowing that I was pushing it aside. And that's what led to the wheels coming off of the bus. And I mentioned this in the group the other day, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on podcast a couple times. About a year and a half ago, I knew, it's like, I got to talk to somebody. I'm not right. Something's Taylor, my friend. Something's just not normal. Something's not clicking. I should reach out and speak to somebody. And I wrote down some names, and actually Taylor, he gave me a name, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago. You might be interested in talking to this guy. And so I took all this information down. I recognized, it's like, man, I need to talk to somebody, because I'm just not doing well. Even took down addresses, like, okay, and get online and research it and see who some of these people are. And and what this is, kind of vet who I might talk to and whatever. So year and a half, 2 years ago, I recognized that I needed to do something, but I never took the step to move forward with any of it. And I don't know, maybe that I'm recognizing that the timing wasn't right and I wouldn't have embraced it in the right mindset. That's fantastic. And I've actually been in discussion with and I actually I drove to Florida, December of 2023, Dan, and I gave a speech there, and actually went to church with the family on a Sunday, and kind of discussed some of this stuff with her way back then. And she brought that up. System overload. You can only deal with so much trauma before you just mentally check out. That's not exactly how she worded it in the conversation, but that's the gist of it. Is it was a traumatic overload. And then once in January, early February, going to counseling, he addressed that as well. It's like the amount of trauma that you've been through, and it isn't just the recent trauma. There's other traumas in my life. Didn't realize the cabin burning down, how traumatic that was. I know that was painful for me, just miserable, losing everything that we lost. But it wasn't so painful for me in the fact that I was hurting. I didn't think, but watching my dad and the pain that he was going through, and just the devastation of him losing what he lost. The family cabin, the horse trailer, the equipment, the backhoe, the dozer, the snowmobile, just so much that was lost. And then not just the memories of the cabin, but that was Dad's tranquility. That was Mom and Dad's little piece of heaven on earth. And to see my dad go through the pain that he did, that crushed me. And so Royce and I, instantly, boom, we're rebuilding this, and did it, loved it, had a blast doing it. We were clicking on all cylinders, and everything was going great, and Dad was happy, and he loved, Royce would send him updated pictures. I'd send him 2 or 3, but Royce would send him 30 or 40 different pictures of the progress and things. And he was, he couldn't come up to see it. In fact, when he died, he was going to come up in July. His intentions were to come up in July. Whether Royce and I drove him up, he was practicing driving to see if he could get here himself. But he loved Royce sending the pictures and the updates, and we were there. It was every week. So he's getting weekly updates, and he'd have some input. Hey, what do you think about this? And in that bedroom, do you think we can add a couple gun safes in there? And, he was still part of it, even though he couldn't be here. And we made sure he was in on all the decisions we made and what we were going to do. And we were going to try to do concrete countertops. He'd seen the video, he's sitting there trying to help, be part of the process. So like, hey, I was checking this out. What do you think about doing this? So, he was as involved as he could be from where he was, which I've dealt with as a builder my entire life. You've got absentee homeowners that, before phones and Zoom calls and stuff like that, it was, you'd send an email and, you'd try to coordinate that way, and you'd send some pictures and stuff, and, deal with the client and the homeowner there. So it was a comfortable thing for me to be able to share that with Dad, and keep him in the loop and keep him as involved as possible, which was fantastic. I can't remember where I was going with that. It just made me smile. I remember Royce sending him all the pictures and how happy Dad would be to get those updated pictures and send more. And hey, next time you're down there, get a couple pictures of this. And how's the new growth of pine trees? Do we have any new ones and shit like that? That's a fun story. And I've got to go get a picture of Asher's tree. I think it took let's see, it burned down in 18. And I think it was the spring of 2020. We got 20 acres down there. In the spring of 2020, the first seedling popped up. And we got a picture of Asher with that tree. So that's now forever. That's Asher's tree. I got to get her down there, and I got to get an updated picture of her with that tree. But, Dad would have us go walk the property. Hey, take a break, at lunch tomorrow or something, and go walk around and see if we've got any more new growth. And I can't remember if it was last year. I think it was last year. Talking to one of our neighbors down there who frequently walks around our property, and he's like, "Man, there's several more. I think I just walked across about a half dozen, just taking my walk." And so I took off, and yeah, there's, I don't know, probably it was last spring. So there's probably about 20 new lodge poles popping up through the dirt, which is pretty cool. I will never see them fully mature in my lifetime, but hopefully my two girls and definitely my grandkids will be able to see those come back up. We do have a beautiful quakey growth though, all over the property, which is fantastic. And the sagebrush is actually coming back, so that's all pretty cool. Yeah, it's kind of odd. I'm going to jump back into some negative stuff here after that positive, but I'm going to get through this on the levels and depths of grief. I'm just going to read right through it so I quit getting sidetracked. I got a lot of shit here, so bear with me. I've become so guarded and isolated that the thought of this is a tough one. I become so guarded and isolated that the thought of personal relationships feels impossible. I lost myself somewhere around year 2 and simply became Riley's dad. That became my entire identity. I didn't mind it then. It kept Riley's memory alive within me, and I was able to share Riley's story with other people. Sean Terry, sir, love you, man. I appreciate that. That means more than you know, because I wonder sometimes, because I just ramble and me, I say some dumb shit sometimes. So I appreciate you, Sean. Just becoming and my identity being, this is Riley's dad. Everywhere I went, I would go to Trump rallies and things like that. I was no longer Jim. I was Riley's dad. I'm Riley's dad. But somewhere in that process, I allowed myself to only become, that's all I was. I was just Riley's dad. I didn't share any more of me than I had to, or share any more of me than was comfortable. I would share everything I could about Riley, but I kept myself so guarded, and I'm learning now that I was protecting myself. Speaking of him, even though it was the most tragic loss I will ever face, I could talk about him all day, and I was comfortable doing so, and it meant something to me. It was from the heart, and I was keeping his memory alive. But I was not going to share anything of me. Nobody's going to know me. And part of that, and I haven't discussed this in counseling or anything, but I'm seeing it was self-preservation, and I didn't want anybody to see the hurt and broken me that I felt I was. So it was safe for me to talk about Riley, and it was safe for me to share his story and all the positives that I could share about his life and Gigi and the baby and my girls. That was okay, but I'm not going to let anybody see the damaged me. Let's see, where was I? Yeah, and in doing so, it slowly eroded the man that I was and the man I wanted to be, and the man that I needed to be, that I need to become. I let myself disappear for a good 2.5 years. And that's, I've mentioned this before in some of the grief that I've been talking about, or the way I handle it or deal with it. Because it was so comfortable, it became safe, and I didn't have to share me. And it was fear, guilt, and shame of how I felt. And I didn't want anybody to see that part of me. I still had to be strong for my girls. I had to be strong for Riley. I felt that I needed to be. It fucking destroyed me, which led to my mentally checking out in January. I don't know how else to put that. I became so numb and so detached from what real life was and what I really felt and what I really felt and what I really needed. And I never addressed what I needed. And I'm still struggling with that, even through the group counseling and individual counseling. It is so hard for me to articulate, well, what do you need? And that's the part of me being kinder to myself and more mindful of me. I struggle with that. It's almost like I dismiss myself as I'm not that important to where I need to, my wants and needs don't matter as much as me sharing Riley's story, or me making sure my girls are going to be taken care of, or I don't know. I became absolutely numb to what the world really was, and I certainly became numb to what my needs were, and my needs were not being met. And it wasn't that somebody else needed to do something for me. My needs were not being met by me. I was not, I wasn't taking care of me. I wasn't addressing the things that I knew I needed. And I certainly wasn't reaching out to anybody to say, hey, I'm drowning here. Can you throw me a life vest? And this is going to sound horrible. I didn't want to die. I don't want to die. But there have been moments through this process since August 26, 2021, the thought was in my head, I could take a deep breath and it would be okay. I'll get to see Riley again. That one just about choked me up. But that thought has been there since he died. Again, I'm not going to Hillary myself or anything like that. And that's never been a thought or an option or a mindset. But the grief gets so heavy and so dark sometimes. It's like deep breath, and it would be okay. I would be okay if that happened. But then it's like, what about your kids and your grandkids? You jack, there it is again, call myself a jackass. There are so many things that are still so beautiful and need taken care of, and I've got a whole life ahead of me that I still need to live. But it was and I wasn't giving up. I wasn't ready to give up. I wasn't wishing for that, but that thought was always there. And knock on wood, I haven't had that thought for a long time, at least in the last 3 or 4 months. That it would be okay. I'd be okay if I just disappeared. It's crazy. I don't know how to explain it. Grief is a fickle bitch. Which is so nuts. I think you guys, if you followed me for any period of time, I write lists all the time, things I need to get done. I write 3 pages in a legal pad of shit that I need to take care of. I want to do this. I want to do that. Thank you, Jill. So I'm mapping out what the future looks like and all these things that I need to get taken care of. And so I'm looking forward and I'm checking things off the list. And as soon as I check something off, I add 6 more things that I can probably get this done too, or I need to get that done. And some of it's just simple crap, raking the yard, filling Zeus's water bowl and taking care of the kennel, or, just dumb things like that. But I put them on the list, and these are little tasks that I need to take care of. Boom, boom, boom. If I write them down, then there's some accountability, and I remember rather than just thinking about them and I need to get that done. No, I write them down. So I make sure, okay, I've got that list. What was I going to do tomorrow? Okay. Yeah, I got to get that done. Or Wednesday, I need to make sure at 3:00 I take care of this. So everything, and this isn't new. This is something I've been doing. Hell, Royce helped me out on that one. I think I've probably been doing that since she was 6 years old, probably before that, because I would do that with work too. We're working on the cabin. We're done at night. I'm sitting down, we eat dinner or whatever, and I'm jotting down, okay, we get back Sunday. I need to take care of X, Y, and Z for this job at work. I need to do this, mapping it out so everything flows and everything is good. So I continue to do that looking forward. But then get stuck in that deep, dark thought process where, yeah, it would be okay. It's not okay. And I don't like that feeling or that thought, but I can't dismiss it and I can't pretend that it's not there, which I pretended, and I pushed that aside and I never told anybody about it. But it was present and it was there. And again, there was no action going to be taken there. So I got to clarify that I wasn't in a position where that's what I was wanting or hoping or thinking or anything like that. But it was a thought that, as bad as I was hurting and as deep in the grief as I was, and as much as I was missing Riley, that deep breath would have been okay. I hope that doesn't happen until I'm 90. I want to be 95. I used to not want to live to be that old, but now I do. I want to torment the shit out of my kids for as long as I possibly can, especially Royce. No offense to you, Cheyenne, but you're not mean to me like Royce. You don't throw things at me and make me bleed and hit me over the head. And I'm kidding. Royce doesn't do that, but it's fun to blame on her. But no, I actually told Royce today I was talking about getting I have got to go get a revocable trust set up. I got 2 properties and freaking vehicles and trailers and all, and backhoe and all. I have so much stuff, valuable stuff, but I've got to get a trust set up and make sure when I kick the bucket, we've got a trust established, a will and trust established where the girls don't have to deal with a bunch of crap. I told Royce today, we were on the phone. I can't remember where the hell she was, but we were talking about something. And she was on her way back to Rock Springs. It's like, that's something I'm going to get done here in the next couple months. I've got to get it done. I've been putting it off. I just need to get it done. Part of that was I was waiting on the court shit that was supposed to be done November of 24. Didn't get it till July of 25, and I'm still missing some items. So I keep waiting that get all this stuff together so I can take everything and get it all done. Well, I'm still waiting on a few things, and I'm going to have to go through the court system to figure out and get. The biggest thing is the missing trailer, a couple missing trailers and pieces of equipment. But rather than keep waiting on that, I need to get what I have covered in a trust, and I can add things later. My girls are awesome. Both of them. They're amazing. I need to get Cheyenne up here and jump in on one of these, or sit down with Asher. Asher would be fun to do a little 30-minute podcast with. That kid is awesome. Speaking of, I'm going to bounce to another happier thing. I'm taking her little pink fishing pole down to the cabin when I go. Hopefully this weekend I'll get it down there, but sent Cheyenne a message the other day. All right, when does Asher get out of school? And she told me the date that Asher's out. It's like, all right, whether you come down or I have to kidnap Asher, I'm bringing her little pink fishing pole down to the cabin, and I think she needs to go fishing with Grandpa. And I sent that message, and I waited about 15 minutes. Like, well, that was really kind of rude. I think little man's about ready to go catch a fish too. So I sent that message, and we need to get little man. I think he's ready as well. She sent a video yesterday or the day before, and he's got this little pretend fishing pole. He's ready. So yeah, I gotta get them down there and before the water, runoff if we have any runoff, because there's no snow left. Oh, that would be fantastic if they can figure out the titles. And I've got the title. I'm missing the piece of equipment. I've tried 3 different law enforcement agencies, and they can't seem to help me. Their advice, every one of them has given me a different story, but the conclusion is, no, you need to do something civilly to locate the trailer. Yes, indeed, Sean. I took her on the Snake River. Cheyenne, when was that? 2 or 3 summers ago, and she had a blast. She wasn't sure what to think. First fish she caught was a sucker, and she wasn't sure what to think about that. But I think she's ready now to actually get after it and get with the program. So I'm excited. I can't wait. She's a couple of years away yet, but then I'll get her in and help me pack baits and stuff in. So pretty awesome. And it was such a fun day, just her and Cheyenne and I sitting on the river and enjoying the sun, and just seeing her and hearing that giggle, that high-pitched giggle, the first fish, not just a whole new experience and brand new world. So no, that's fun. And yeah, I really want to get her down and let her catch a fish or 2 and have some fun and just get outside. So, and I need it. I need that more than she does probably, but I want to spend some time with the granddaughter and enjoy that for a little bit. My game plan is work my ass off and 7 to 5, 7 to 6, somewhere in there. And, but then I still got to, Royce and I, unfortunately, not unfortunately, because we needed to do it, but when Royce and I were going down to the cabin and working, hell, we'd start at 6:30, and depending on what we were doing, we'd work until the sun went down. We were working 14, 15, 16-hour days, busting our ass to get things done, which was a necessity. Hell, Wyoming's got and she's cute as hell. I keep peeking at pictures, Sean. That's fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, is there another one on the way? I can't remember. I can't remember. Yeah. I forgot what I was saying. Got sidetracked with granddaughters and grandbabies and that sort of stuff. Royce and I, working 15, 16 hours a day from Thursday night, we'd go down and we'd do what we could until it got dark, or get prepared and prep everything for a couple hours for the next day. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's right. That's right. That's what I thought I saw. That's fantastic. And then, yeah, we'd head back Sunday evening and go back to our real jobs and load up and do it again on Thursday. And we did that for, started the footers on Memorial Day of 2019. And we actually worked before that, tearing out the old foundation and digging the new water line in and hooking up to the well and all that shit. But started footers Memorial Day of 2019, and Royce and I, every Thursday we'd load up and head down and work till Sunday, until Royce was actually at the cabin when I called her and let her know that her brother had died. So May of 2019 to August 26th of 2021, all we did was work. But we were good. Life was in a really good point. Life was at a really good point at that time. Work was going well, and the cabin was clicking, and Dad was happy and loving the progress. And we were 10 weeks away from the cabin would have been finished. And I don't know what the hell happened, but that 10-week time frame is now a 10-month time frame. And part of that is Royce and I work so well together, and just so organized and mapped out, and it's boom, 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 and everything is just rolling, and away we go. To where Riley's death just changed the world, and now she's no longer able to come help me, so I'm doing it all on my own. And I don't want to give her too much credit, but kid can work her ass off. And not only does she work her ass off, but we work well together, feed off each other, motivate each other. And not having her there and having her assistance, and the ability of, she's really good at what she does. Not having her there to pick up the slack, or I'm working on one thing, she's working on another. So there's where 10 weeks turns into 10 months. I could set her loose and, hey, I need you to go trim the windows in this room. Here's what we need, blah, blah, blah. Done. She's on it, and she's doing it, and it turns out great. Hey, can you go put barnwood on this wall? She's doing that. I'm working on something completely different. You just tackled 2 projects in the same 4-day period, and they both got completed. So yeah, not having her there to do what she does, or to help me on the bigger projects, or, hey, you run the table saw and I'll be up on the scaffolding, or vice versa, and boom, just, tag teaming things on bigger projects. When it's just one guy, You can only do so much. And I'm not going to lie. Since I've been able to get back to the cabin, it is so nice to be there and it is so nice to be working. But I also have the mental side of me that I'm also dealing with. I'm not working as hard and as fast as I once did or want to. It drives me nuts that I like, geez, the things that used to come so easy and I could just go and life is good. It's a struggle. And then when I was down there and I'm getting the floor laid and, we're on a roll, and then I want to get pictures of a fox in the dark and I trip over one stack and fall on another and break my damn ribs. That put me out of commission 4 freaking months. It was 3.5, 4 months before I didn't have to brace myself to roll out of bed and not have my breath taken away from me. So yeah, and then the I got to be careful what I say. I got flagged last time I said the wrong word. So the mental side of me, again, I kick my own ass. And I can go down there with the best of intentions and everything is looking good. And I'm so excited to be going and get there and make lists and things to hold myself accountable. I got to get X, Y, and D and Z done this trip to keep making this progress. A thought will come in, something will happen. The motivation kind of slows down and I still get stuff done. Oh man, Carol, that is so true. And it's hit and miss. I'll be doing great and on a roll. And then, like the shit with the insurance company hit. And I did. Thank God Royce called me. This was 3 weeks ago, I think, because I hit that point where fuck it. I'm not calling anybody today. I'm not doing anything. Kiss my ass. Well, the only person that was going to hurt was me. I wouldn't have got anything accomplished. Nothing would have moved forward, but I was just so over dealing with it. And for a guy who doesn't like to talk on the phone anyway, since April 16th, I have been on the phone every day for a couple hours at a time, consistently. And I hated every minute of it, but I kept my shit together and I didn't cuss at it. Well, I take that back. Last Friday, I finally said, you know what? I've had enough of this bullshit. Get this figured out and get it figured out now. Didn't happen Friday, but it sure as hell happened Monday. So, absolutely, Sean. Absolutely. I hope you're enjoying some of the pictures I share. I know I'm sharing a lot of the desert country right now because I'm here, but that's one thing I can't wait to get back down there and get some pictures, and I can get into the mountains a little bit now. So I got to share some more of the pretty part of Wyoming. Not that it's not pretty here, but we were kind of spoiled where we're at, and it definitely is prettier. I'll tell you what, as soon as I get one working bathroom, anybody that wants to come down can come down and see me, but having to go visit the Herpy hut right now is kind of an inconvenience and a little bit embarrassing. So that is my game plan. I had everything mapped out a month ago on how this was all going to work out and the progress I was going to make week to week. And that got derailed. And, I'm not disappointed. It just delayed everything that I thought I would have done, but weather and then other life situations pop up. So I'm a little bit behind on where I wanted to be, but I'll throw an extra week or, another weekend or something in there where I can go down and get some stuff done and catch back up. But yeah, the snow coming and the mud, Um, there you go. Um, you know, little delays, but those are anticipated every spring. I mapped everything out on the calendar in a perfect scenario. And we all know that nothing ever goes according to plan. So I'm not too upset that some of these things are being delayed and stuff. And then there are some things down there. I do have to have Royce down there with me um, to get some of the shit done. I just, I'm going to have to tie off and stuff like that, or have her run the backhoe while I'm up on the scaffolding and things like that. So we'll figure that out. And she's trying to figure her schedule out as to what the summer's going to look like. So we'll coordinate that and get together. And hell, if I can get her down there for 2 or 3 days, I can get a lot of that shit tackled. But it's got to be when weather is permitting and the wind's not blowing 100 miles an hour down there. So we'll get some of that figured out. But for her, it's all high stuff. It's all, setting the chimney cap, getting the ridge on the freaking metal. Haven't got the ridge cap on yet. And I need her there for that. And then just some other random exterior stuff. Other than that, everything that needs to be done, I can do by myself. Again, it'll just take longer. But the summer months, get as much of the exterior stuff done as I can. And go from there. I can trim windows and do a bunch of the other crap that I need to do. It doesn't matter if the snow's 6 feet deep. I can still do that. I'll piss and moan and whine because it's cold, but it's not like I haven't done that my entire life. Not the piss and the moan part, although I've done that too, but working in 6 feet of snow. And I can tent things off and put a heater in and be fairly comfortable. So now the biggest thing for me right now is I've got to get the floors finished and then put a finish on the floors. And then I've got to get the 2 bathrooms. Oh, I got to get the floors finished, get the finish on the floors. I've also got to get the log stairs built so I can get up and down and get the damn ladder out of the friggin' house. Once that's done, then I can get the 2 bathrooms done. Get a sink set, 2 sink set, toilet set, and get a shower. And at that point, and get the shower done in the tub. The upstairs is just a tub. So get that done and bathrooms done, good to go. Then I'm working on the kitchen and get the cooktop in, and I've already got a double oven in there, so frozen pizzas aren't a problem, but slowly but surely I'll get there. I do need to bug Royce again. Right on. Absolutely. Royce come across a whiskey barrel sink with a distressed copper sink. When she goes back this next time, shit, I might have to have her take my truck back. I've got plenty to do. I definitely do. And when I'm doing it, I feel so much better. And one, I'm getting things done, but I just feel so much better physically and mentally and everything else. So I'm really itching. If you hear me, man, I can't wait to get back to the cabin. That's why. It is just such a different world. One, I need to get it done, and I'm excited to get it done. And looking forward to getting it to a finished state. There's so much work, and then I'll have to restain and stuff like that. So it's going to be an endless job, but so looking forward to getting the damn thing done and being able to have people come visit and hang out and sit on the porch and watch the sunset and just bullshit about life in general and watch the deer feed right past us, whatever. I just need to get there and get it done. So I'm super excited about that. And yeah, mentally and physically, when I'm there getting things done and just being there, um, it's just a different world, and it is a piece that I need for sure. Um, and there are some things down there that I need to do for Dad that I promised that when he died I would get done. So I need to make sure I do that. And but that's all. Even though there's some painful memories involved with that, that doesn't affect me. That doesn't seem to bother me, and I've never dwelled on that as a negative. It's all positive. Even, getting the headstone with Mom, Dad, and Riley on it like he wants. That might be emotional when I said it, but that process, getting it set up where he wants it to be and how he wants it to be. I'm excited to do that, and it's a promise I made to him. So that process is going to be great. And yeah, once the headstone is there and I set it and I see the names on there, and there might be a tear or an emotion or something involved with that, but it's also a promise made, promise kept, which is going to be very rewarding for me, to know that I did this for my dad the way that he wanted it done. So Carol, that is so true. And unfortunately, and I have some of the best friends. Two of them have been on here, Sean and Taylor. Known these guys for years, and hell, Taylor I've known. We're way too old, so I'm not going to say how long I've known Taylor. Great people, great friends. When I'm with people, and I don't get to see Sean anymore because he headed to different parts, but never miss a conversation, never a hiccup in the conversations, and it's just absolutely fantastic. But I allowed myself to get so deep in my own shit that I isolated myself from those friendships. I still have the conversations and receptive, and when I would go, Taylor and Stacy might say, "Hey, we're going to Old Chicago. You want to come join us for dinner?" Absolutely love being there. But the times in between, I would never reach out. Sometimes I wouldn't even answer a message or return a phone call. It is so bizarre because it's such a good feeling and so needed to be with people, and able to talk about anything and whatever, and kind of get yourself out of your own mental shit. But no, the isolation piece and the just distancing myself from anyone and everything. And I can't say I didn't realize I was doing it. I knew I was doing it, but I couldn't get out of that freaking rut. I guess the moral of that story is I'm doing a hell of a lot better now. Absolutely. No, I remember that well, Carol. And I think about that often, think about you often, and especially wrestling stuff. I can't speak about wrestling now without the thought of you and your husband, and some of the pictures you've shared of him on the mat. No, that was very impactful for me. Your loss and the timing and how closely related they were. There's another thing. Wrestling was so big for me growing up, and then it became such a huge part of our family's life and Riley's life, and all the things that I coached and all the things that I taught the kids that I coached and everything else, how to persevere and push through, and you've got to mentally be strong. You know, half of the battle is mental. So all the things that I knew and I coached and I taught and everything else, I couldn't coach myself. It was, yeah. Sean, I think you and I got grounded. And that was a cold damn game, but we had fun, damn it. Carol, I agree 100%. And the majority of my life, I can attribute to that wrestling mentality and mindset. And, you know, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. That mindset, mentality, and growing up in Wyoming and being raised the way I was raised, absolutely, I believe that wholeheartedly. I could have curled up in a fetal position long ago, but the wrestler in me, the coach in me, and that cowboy way of life and has helped me. It might not look like it sometimes with what I share, but that's also part of why I'm in the position that I'm in, is you become so accustomed to, you know, wrestling is all individual. You've got this, you're gonna get through this. Just buckle down and frickin' do it. Same way with the way I grew up, and you know, my dad never reached out, and I don't think my dad ever spoke to a counselor in his life, no matter what he was going through. You just cowboy up and pull your boots on and go get shit done. So I tried to do that, and especially this last year, it worked. It's always worked for me, but I got to a place in my own head, my heart, my head, something. There was such a disconnect that everything that I was doing stopped working, and then I was just going through motions, and I wasn't gaining traction anywhere. Which again is another reason why I beat myself up sometimes about some of this shit. Is I've always been able to persevere and push through shit, and a bad thing would happen, and it would usually be a motivator for me to keep going forward, get your mind off this shit, get your ass to work and get some stuff taken care of, boom, 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 and everything worked itself out. For whatever reason, and I as I'm learning, the biggest reason is because I didn't allow myself to grieve. I didn't allow myself to feel what I was feeling. I didn't allow myself to accept what I was feeling, and would just push it aside and push it aside, and not knowing that I was doing it, but trying so hard not to feel what I was feeling, if that makes any sense. And I was able to do that for just long enough until my mind said, you're not taking this shit anymore. And this is going to sound horrible, and it's going to come out wrong. When Royce left to go to Colorado, that was the last loss that my mind allowed me to accept, and that was it. That was it. Crazy. And there was nothing bad there. I mean, it wasn't a trauma or anything like that, but for me, for whatever reason, the losses that had piled up, and the stresses and the trauma up to that point, it just wiped me out. And we've discussed that, both different counselors and the group that I go to and stuff. Can't explain that one. Nobody's been able to help me navigate that. They've tried to, talk me through it in different ways and had me try to open up about it. I don't know what I felt. I don't know what the hell happened, but that was my breaking point. Which just saying that pisses me off, because then again, I'm accepting that I was broken, and there's so much about me that I'm learning about me that I didn't even know about me that is so bizarre and so weird. And the thought processes that I have that I'm learning now, shit, these were long before Riley even became a Marine, for crying out loud. I've had these same thought processes and same way of dealing with shit that would go wrong, and dealing with my mom's death, and just so many other things in the cabin, and it just how I handle things, deal with things. And the bigger problem is how I don't, or how I didn't. Oh shit, Royce is on. I better quit talking bad about her. But it was how I didn't deal with things that I'm learning, and for years, probably since before my divorce, or definitely divorce and moving forward, and those kind of things. I keep saying how I dealt with things, but it's more how I didn't deal with things, how I wouldn't allow myself to deal with things, and I wouldn't allow myself to feel what I should have been feeling. I would feel it and then I'd dismiss it and move on to something else. Which is I still don't do it. I'm learning to, and learning ways to kind of cope with that. But it's going to be I've got to change my whole mindset, and it's almost like I got to reinvent myself to be someone who can do that. And like I said, I'm a long way from being there. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm embracing the therapy the way that I am, and excited is not the right word, because I'm not excited. But it's the right thing to do at the right time in my life. And it is definitely something that I needed to do, and probably needed to do a long time ago. So there has not been one negative that I can think of since I reached out and started talking to somebody. There has been some anxiety and stuff like that. Was talking to Royce yesterday and then again today about this, I think. Trying to schedule things with multiple therapists, and sharing a bunch of stuff in a group setting, and then trying to go to an individual that's not associated with the group therapy it overwhelms me. And the anxiety piece kicks in, and then I feel guilty that I'm not reaching out and making an appointment this week like I should. I mean, and then it's just like, holy shit, I'm just overloaded again. And it's almost like I have to freaking take a day and just reset. I got to not talk to anybody, avoid the phone, avoid everything, and just reset, reground myself, go put my feet in the grass, whatever. Go hug a tree. I don't know. But so I'm changing that up. Actually, Tuesday will be I'll have a one-on-one on Tuesday with somebody that's associated with the group, that will, because I share a bunch of shit for an hour and a half. And then when I go to a different building, different place, different person, I talk for 45 minutes, and they're like, wait, you got to catch me up. I'm not even sure what you're talking about. So I'm not going to say that's a negative, but it's become, there's too much of a disconnect, and it was the anxiety piece in me, which is already on freaking overload. It becomes too much, and then I shut down again. I feel myself I just get overwhelmed. It's like I can't freaking do this. So I'm going to change that up just a little bit, to where I don't feel like it's so repetitive and I'm not making any progress, because everything I talk about here, Royce just sent me a message, but I don't think I need to read that one right now. Forgot what I was saying. Anyway, instead of bouncing back and forth and feel like I'm not getting anywhere, I'll be speaking to somebody that's kind of in the loop, to where I'm still going to have to start over, because she's only got bits and pieces of the other, oh, woe is me shit. So I'll start over fresh, but she's got a good understanding of kind of where I'm at, and so on and so forth, as far as the group setting goes, and an understanding of the whole Riley situation and the anxiety and all that stuff. So we should be able to catch up rather quickly on the other parts of what's going on. But I think that'll be a positive move and more beneficial. So yeah, I'm going to have to do this in 2 parts, because I still have 2 more pages of the depths and levels that I haven't gotten to yet. So yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully it was somewhat insightful, and I didn't ramble too much and go off on too many tangents. But again, this is a huge therapeutic piece for me, where writing used to be my outlet. I'm struggling with the writing piece right now. So this is a great way for me to just sit and let shit fly. Same with the coffee with the kid in the mornings. Kicking myself in the butt for not doing it, from August to, when did I start again? February, I think. Because it is such a needed thing for me to just sit down and let things fly. But I was not in the mindset to do it. I had checked out. August to January, I was just not feeling it. And then January hit, and I felt everything all at once, and overloaded. So yeah, it's good to be back on here. Hope you guys enjoy it. And I sure enjoy spitting it out and sharing it, and have to get Royce back on here again one of these times that she's up, and talk about some funner, happier stuff. I am going to, as soon as I get down to the cabin, whether it's this weekend or I wait until next week, I'm going to go hopefully swap some SD cards, and hopefully have a bear or two to share some pictures of, and discuss some of that stuff. And I mentioned to Sean in here in the comments, I'm planning on getting a bunch of, pictures of that part of the country, and love the sunrises and sunsets down there. You got the sun setting over the Hobacks, and if you stand just right, you can see at the cabin, you can see the tops of the Wind Rivers when the sun's coming up. So it's pretty cool. And then you got the Grovants to the north, and they get some beautiful colors, sunrise and sunsets. So yeah, I'll try to get some pictures. All that I can get from the cabin, but like I said, I'll bust my ass from 6:37 and work till 5:36, and then take a little me time and go explore a little bit, go get some pictures, and maybe get the granddaughter down there and go do some fishing. But appreciate you tuning in, and I think next week I'll just pick up on the same thing a little bit, finish off what I've got written down on my notes, and kind of stick with the levels and depths of the grief a little bit. One, I hope it's helpful to somebody else, but two, it's definitely helpful for me. So as I embark on this journey a little bit further, I'm just going to keep sharing and purging some of the stuff that I do. And again, appreciate you guys tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in and following my Wicked Wisdom Wednesday adventures. You never know where the path or topics are going to take us. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. You can find me on social media at the links listed at the end of this video. You can also find me on Spotify and YouTube at Wicked Wisdom Wednesday. Join me Monday mornings for Coffee with the Kid, and randomly on weekends for Wicked Wisdom's Weekend Adventures. I do appreciate all your support. Thanks again, Jim.